Hello and welcome back to the roads of Elden Ring. Last time we finished this first very small area. Very small. I mean, it's quite big, but the stuff that you can do in there is limited, I should say. And today we will have a look at this plateau over here. And only this plateau. I don't know how much time I need for this, but I think we will finish it. We will also have a look at the two NPCs that we will find here, because in order to get to this plateau, you first need to go through here. And just by looking at the map, it's fairly unclear, because what ends up happening is that there is a small path to the side, and then you go underneath this part, and then you come out of here, I think, somewhere over here. And it's not clear from looking at the map. Similar to these parts down here, there's certain things where it's very unclear how to get to certain areas, which is unfortunate, I think. But let's just start by going this way. Quite the entrance here. So this must be, the upcoming area must be a fairly important one. On the way there, they're just random ass enemies, doesn't matter. And more of these spiral pillars. And the biggest staircase. So this city over there must be something very, very special, and indeed it is. It also has this shadowy stuff on top of there. We will have a look at the city right there probably in the next video. But for now, there is another side of grace, 2 NPCs and another cross of Mikela. Of course, again with a shadow tree fragment. Let's read it. Flesh of my body, still the same. And these 2 NPCs. Let's talk to this one first.
You must be the Tarnished. I am Ansbach, formerly in service to Lord Moog, but now, like you, another soul guided by kindly Mikela. I'm hardly the steady hand I once was. My fighting days are far behind me, which is why I have chosen to dedicate myself to investigation, to discern tender Mikela's ultimate purpose. I'd rather not volunteer service to a new master unless I know that I can be of use. May I request a service of you? 6 crosses identical to this one have been discovered in these lands. They are akin to tender Mikela's footprints, or gravestones, which mark what he's left behind. If you discover any more crosses, be certain to tell me. I presume you, too, are keen to know just what kind Mikela is doing here. If you discover any more crosses, be certain to tell me. I presume you, too, are just what...
Alright, so he's probably my favorite character of this DLC. And he's in search of these crosses. He wants to know what Mikela is doing here, which is, I mean, understandable. But he also falsely assumes that we are indeed under Mikela's charm, because we are not.
Hello there. Together, we work. Together, for Mikela the Kind. Many things we have found. Goodbye. Many things. Goodbye.
If you discover any, be certain to... I presume you just what...
Okay. You want to tell us more about him? This is some more. And he's a strange but kind person. More about him later in the story. But for now, we have 2 choices. The obvious path, and this path over there. you probably look back at some point, right? I mean, we are ascending right now, really, right? From down here to up here, there's not only the staircase, but it goes up. So you probably, at some point, want to look down, and then you see this rather interesting looking rock formation over there, which probably draws your attention. Or you're just skimming across the edges of the map itself, and then you see this as well. But over here we have a small path. There are crosses here that also help us that also indicate that there is a path here. We have an item there, we have enemies walking around there. So a lot of things are pointing at this rock formation. Of course, the item that is here is not really noteworthy. It's just here to grab the player's attention, I would say. A few bats. I'm glad that they are back. Not ready though. And then we already have another site of grace over here. And more stuff to explore, and if you remember last time, we have seen this enemy type over there. Already. We've seen them across this river on the other side. And now they're our enemies. Quite strange looking, I must say. And is it a bit too dark? Let me see. Alright. I froze time so that it's not changing into night if I take too long. But I don't know, this weather, it's fairly early. It's still morning. I'd rather freeze it when it's midday, I guess. But yeah, now we are on this part of the plateau. Let's have a look to the left if there is anything noteworthy over here, other than a few dogs and more of these strange creatures. But no, there is not. So, which is kind of unfortunate, because when you're standing down there and you look up, you see these roots or tree parts. Whatever these things are, I was kind of eager to see what's up here, but this seems to be inaccessible, which is rather unfortunate. But there are a few main parts up here that we want to explore, and I also want to know what this area is called. Let me quickly have a look. Cliff Road Terminus, okay. Interesting, I could also see it from here. But there's a few noteworthy things. First of all, these ruins, of course. Then there might be something in these woods. We will have a look at that. And then, of course, down here in the south is the final path we take. But now let's start with the path over here. Let's go from west to southeast, I guess. So we have a game plan that we have to follow. I also might want to equip a ranged weapon. Well, actually, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. First, let's have a look at these enemies, because they look quite strange, right? Maybe there's one that is standing up? Well, we can have a look at their back, I guess, and of course it's raining right now, as usual. Let me quickly try to fix this. It's still morning. I mean, it seems fixed. Can't promise anything though. It feels like 90% of the time in this game it's raining. And it might have to do something, now that I think of it, with these enemies. The furnace golems. Because of course the furnace golems are dealing fire damage. I mean also physical damage, but the majority of the damage, the biggest portion of their damage type is fire. And when it's raining, I don't know if they're any weaker, but at least when it's raining you take less fire damage. So that might be part of the reason why it's raining so much. At least for me. But these are quite the grotesque looking creatures. Humanoids, but heavily deformed. That's quite hard to get a good look at them. Maybe with this? Nope, I'm just looking through them. Well, we will probably find one that is standing around at some point. Maybe this one, but he's patrolling. They kind of remind me of, at least their faces, remind me of mole rats or something similar. Like definitely, like they have these two very large front teeth, like rodents have. And I don't know, I think it's because of another game that I've played. They had like these big mole rat enemies inside at a certain level, and they kind of remind me of that, even though it's quite different. But yeah, we have these blood fiends, that's what they're called, and we have a few dogs so far, and of course the bats. Over here we have another graveyard with a noteworthy enemy. Let's see what this one is dropping. Another shadow tree fragment, very useful. So already a very important area. And now that I think of it, what I should have done is slowly but surely mark the map with all the shadow tree fragments. That would be interesting. Or that would have been interesting. Let's do it from now on. I might at some point add the remaining ones. Maybe after I'm done here. But not now. So this is the one noteworthy thing here. Now let's have a look over these ruins. And I think it's bright enough outside for me to freeze time again. So that is nice. Having a look at these weapons. I mean, this one is standing up, I guess. So we can have a look at this one now. Red eyes. And we already know who or what faction has red eyes. Then blood dripping from their mouths. Blood on their belly, on their arms. And this grotesque looking weapon. Looks like a piece of bone or something. Now let's have a look at this area down here. I guess we have now the Prospect Town over here. This is part of the Prospect Town. I wouldn't really call this a town. For a town, this is way too small, I feel like. But there's something interesting here, a new... let's not call it mechanic, but a new way of discovering things, I guess. We have these pots hanging from certain rocks. Or certain cliffs, I guess. And if you shoot these down, there is, I think, always a bell bearing inside. This one should be the string bell bearing. I think it's the only one that maybe the string one? I think this might be the only one where I know what bell bearing there is inside. But yeah, shoot them down with a projectile and grab the reward. If you miss these things, it's not really a big deal. Or maybe it is if you use consumables on a regular basis and you like the crafting system, then it might be important for you, but if you don't like crafting, you can ignore these. Now let's have a look at this town, because what I'm wondering is how you're supposed to get there. There's no indication of a staircase here. I mean, this, I guess, is a building, or was a building. We have windows here, very high up. But no... excuse me. But no indicator of a staircase. This is, I guess, a wall. Should be a wall. So we have a staircase over here, but... now what? Like, shouldn't there be a straight edge on where the other staircase is? Like, how are we supposed to get up here? Is what I'm wondering. I mean, the footpath is leading to this spot. If we have a look at the footpath, that leads right through here. But this might be a newly, more recently formed footpath, once these ruins were already ruined. This might be the case as well. But it's not very clear where the missing staircase would be. And then, funnily enough, this staircase is still there. Like, this one looks almost perfect, right? But then, wherever the other one would have been is not clear, which is unfortunate. But let's see, let's have a look at this so-called town, because I'm not a fan of these towns. Because usually the buildings are way too small or look weird. Like, we certainly have a very small building here. Like, I don't know how big buildings were back then. I mean, back then, it's like... I don't know why they like to have such small buildings in this game. In this world. Apparently they're fine with just one room. I mean, it's called a town, but the only thing they have is like vases and these cloths for some reason over their buildings. Probably because of like the veil on top of the earth tree. They are doing something similar with putting cloths or veils on top of their buildings. Maybe it's part of their religion or something. Then of course we have more blood fiends with different weapons, which is at least one thing. And they really like to store these pots. And these weird looking... Yeah, I don't know what this is. These weird vases and pots and whatnot. If you're looking too close, it starts to become weird. Okay, staircase over here. And then... I guess this is where... Yeah, this is where the staircase broke off, and it's supposed to connect to this part over there. I think. It certainly looks feasible. Or maybe this connected to somewhere over there, but no, they're missing rabbits. Something collapsed here, clearly. But then there's another staircase here. You don't just need one path, this is totally fine, I guess. More walls. Why even have these thick-ass walls? Don't you want to have more space? And then for us to traverse this level, we can walk across this fallen down pillar or beam or whatever. Let's have a look if there's something over here. We have a nice view over the rest of the level, I guess, which is quite cool. It's always nice to stand atop, and we will have a look at that later, once we are done with this town. Then we can have a look at the rest of the world that we can explore at some point. But this is quite the fun level part, I feel like. I like these smaller but easier jump tasks. It's not really a puzzle, right? It's not a jump puzzle, it's like a jump level or platforming parts. And now we are at it. Like, the blood fiends are they eating themselves? Sadly they just stood up, but over there they're still doing it. If we have a look at these, like, he's clearly eating something that is fairly close to this dude. He will probably stand up once I'm getting too close. Yeah. Unfortunate. And this one stopped his chant. If we have a look at their weapons, this one is a shorter version of that one. It's clearly shorter, so this is a special enemy, I guess. And yes, I don't have to guess, it is a special one. So we have 3 types of blood fiends. At this point, we have the ones with the fork. We have the ones with the club. And we have the one with a spear that has possibly some magical effects. And it has a fairly complicated pattern on it, like showing some kind of intelligence, I would say. I mean, the rest of the weapon looks very crude, but the intricate design on it it's almost not fitting. And also with these bracelets on the side, like, there is or was some intelligence in these creatures. But now we have... Where's the staircase? Oh, it's over... Is it over there? No, where was the staircase? The collapsed one. Oh, it is over here. Alright. Like, this connected probably to this part. Like, there is no indicator for it to go further down. Maybe to that part? No. Must be connected to this one over there. Would make the most sense. with a small bridge. Then there is an entrance. We can probably get in there from 2 sides. We can jump over here, go inside, or we can go from down here. Let's have a look how this level is built, because this might be built for stealth. Like, you see all these creatures, you don't want to fight them. What options do you have? You can try to sneak around here, but then they might see you, not very sure. But you have the option to completely or potentially avoid them to get to your prize. Or let's see if there's another path. Oh, if we are here, we can go around them. And no, this seems dangerous. I mean, this jump is definitely possible, but let's see. Oh, we can also jump on these roofs. That's more like it. We can drop down here and sneak around, or run around, I guess. You need to be careful. I mean, there is some incentive to use sneak tactics here, because you have like three of these and then another 3 of these on one spot. That's quite dangerous. So it's nice that you have at least 2 routes that you potentially could take to get around this cluster. But let's see what's inside. This is certainly Outer God heirloom. This is certainly a similar looking tower or room, whatever, to the one that we've seen over here in the Scorched Ruins. It's a similar thing where you go into this thing where there's just a chest with something inside. Let's have a look at this one though, because this one explains what these creatures might have been or are. A talisman engraved with the lore of an outer god. Raises arcane. The clan who lost everything in the Great Fire peered upon the corpse of the ancestor, normally an act of sanctity, and saw in its shadow a twisted deity. The clan had suffered such torment, that the horrible thing was taken as an object of worship, and thus they got turned into these blood fiends, I guess. There is also a weapon that we get from defeating one of these over here at this particular spot. Let's quickly have a look if I can find it. Come on, where is it? Can it be there? The Blood Fiend's arm. This is the weapon, the club weapon they're using. That doesn't really look like an arm, but sure, I guess. Weapon used by the Blood Fiends. This is the first text calling them Blood Fiends. An arm pulled from the corpse of one of their kin and wielded as a makeshift weapon. Having been sanctified by a blood ritual, this armament is capable of spraying blood stored within when executing a strong attack. So they're certainly using some kind of primitive blood magic. So they're probably praying to the same or at least a similar deity to the one that Moog is praying to. Formless mother, one outer god. Alright, now that we're done with these ruins, we can have a look at the final part. And, oh, I wanted to have a look at something. I almost forgot. Thanks for reminding me. I wanted to have a look at the verticality of this whole game from here, because we have still enough time, I feel like. Because if we have a look at down there in this red area, we can see there's another furnace golem. And it looks way too interesting. This area looks way too interesting to just be something in the background, right? And I mean, the furnace golem is putting a seal on it that this is definitely an area that we can explore. Let's have a quick look. We have an area with red ground. It's not really clear what this red is. I mean, these are flowers, but we don't know that yet. They're looking quite nice. Kind of hard to make out certain things. And then if we have a look even further down, there's also another area where we can also walk around, which should be quite exciting. So let's look forward to exploring that area over there. But first, we're up here, so let's continue exploring the final part of this plateau. And then let's talk about level design and the world design of this whole place, because there's still quite a lot to summarize. But first, let's keep showcasing this level. Of course, more blood fiends with their blood dogs. But then this pond with 2 dogs inside, the bestest of boys, and another revert spirit ash, which is pretty nice. And then there's just this path down here. Let's quickly have a look left, or not left. I mean, from our perspective, left of these ruins, but to the east of these ruins. If there's something down here, there might be, or might not be, something. But there is apparently nothing. And looking at the map, you would expect something over here, so it's clearly raised. And indeed, there is something. And this is not an enemy. This is a pest, or a kindred of rot, that we can interact with, which is quite strange. And they give us black firefly. Oh, and a cookbook. But I already have the cookbook, so let's quickly have a look. Where do I have these cookbooks? Are they here? No. Key items? Key items, yeah. What these are giving us are... Come on, where are they? Medic, no. Probably at the bottom. Right, Forager Brood cookbooks. In total there are, I think 6 Forager Broods, and 1 you get from some more. And now that we've met one of these, I think we can talk to Sir Moore or Sansbach for more information about these creatures and him. Sir Moore, I mean. A small site where seemingly the Blood Fiends attacked this camp. Why do you even camp here? Like, these Blood Fiends are clearly around, I wouldn't. It's quite the dangerous place to camp if you're not friends with them. Quite stupid to camp there. Then on the cliffs we have a few grave birds. If we ever look down, I mean, in this area there were a bunch of grave birds, so it's no surprise that these are on the cliffs, looking down on the graveside plain or whatever it was called. Yeah, graveside plain. Now it needs to rain because it's part of this area. Here we have a new old enemy type with these golden goats that like to roll away and do their rolling lightning attack or lightning ram attack. And then we have these quite large goats that are they're quite dangerous if you fight them. And they are not hostile, but you can certainly kill them. But if you do, you better burst them down, because if they hit you, they will hurt like a truck. Let's quickly have a look around here, but I don't think there is anything noteworthy on these sides. There's certainly something interesting ahead of us going this way, but I don't think there's anything special in this area. I mean, down here is also something interesting, but let's have a look at the top of these rocks first. And let's try to discover anything useful up here. We certainly have some boars. So if you like to hunt in these games, feel free to hunt every animal you find. We also have a red bear with horns on top of their head. I don't know, this fur looks so strange. It looks like especially when they're walking, it looks very how do I describe it? Like it's constantly moving. That's the best of my ability to describe it. Quite dangerous hole. From down here, or from up here, we can see a curse blade sitting on that rock. And then we have this peak of the building, of the church below us. So we need to find a safe way there. Up here we also have a shack with a painting inside. And this one is Incursion. This one. And we've been there already. Incursion can be found by going over to this place. So we might have to do this right after finishing this area. Let's quickly go back down, because that's the important thing up here, the shack. And because we already know where this place is and we have the means to go there, I will do that right after going this way. Luckily they've placed some reds here, because this feels quite hidden. I mean, not that hidden, but certainly more hidden than the way up to the hill. But here we have this curse blade that is somewhat hard to spot. We can see the blade sticking out, and the head, I guess. But we might not see this as a curse blade, trying to ambush everyone coming through here. Not to surprise, it's not really an ambush. But now we are at this church, which is quite cool. Church of Benediction with the blessed blue dew talisman. My favorite one, even though this is quite useless. But this is exactly what I wanted, an item that reliably restores FP. Very slowly, but it restores FP. Could have been faster though. Kind of disappointed that it's not faster, but at least we have something like that. The fun thing is, if we have a look down here, this should look familiar and quite good, honestly. This looks quite nice from up here. Holy shit. If the rocks, like, if you make the blacks, like the black colors, the black shadows, a bit more blacker, and the light a bit more vibrant, that would look like an amazing painting. Holy shit. But we're here at the very beginning of the game, and here we have the Oath Seeker armor with the Pata. Oath Seeker Knight chest armor, black with golden ornamentation. These knights set off on a quest of discovery, hoping to find by themselves an oath of their own choosing to serve in perfect lifelong devotion. And then the Pata, a weapon comprised of a linear, double-sided blade attached to a substantial guard, wielded by the Oathseeker Knights. These versatile armaments can be swung about like a fist or used in the manner of a straight sword. Right. The weird thing is that the entrance of this church points in this direction, letting me believe that there once was a staircase here, or something that leads up here. Because why would you put your entrance not really to the entrance, right? Because you might think like the entrance is the way we came from, like up here. But this seems to be the backside. So I wonder why there are no ruins of a staircase. Why there's nothing to see there. Let's quickly have a look if there's something useful up here. But that doesn't seem to be the case. This certainly has a similar feel to the first, like to the beginning of the game. Not as spectacular. But from here we can see very well another very cool looking area. And this looks so great. Like we have an island. We have a look there. There's a building on top of this island. So once again we can probably go through a cave to get to this island with the blue flowers. And in contrast, this looks so very nice, like the red parts on top, and then with the flowers, with the blue flowers on the bottom. Like side by side, they look really nice. Now we got this weirdest hole in the middle there, so that's going to be interesting. If we have a look at the map, if we are cheating and have a look at the map, this already looks amazing. Like we can see there's water, like blue color paired with this red color. This is a very beautiful area, that like the red one. The blue one is still beautiful, but I prefer the red one. And I feel like the gameplay on the red one is better too. But that aside, let's quickly find this painting. For that we have to go back to the lake. So I wonder if we are intended, like if they intended for us to go this way first before exploring the north here. Because now we have to backtrack to this part down here. Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? At some point you have to backtrack anyways. Or you might want to backtrack anyways because you've missed something. My eye was itching, excuse me. Should be up here somewhere, right? Wasn't it up here? Isn't this the place? Oh, it's up here, alright. Yeah, the painter is showing us this beautiful painting and is giving us the serpent crest shield. Hooray! A finely made red shield featuring an engraving of a winged serpent. Excels at guarding against fire. Said to have been made to commemorate the beginnings of the crusade started by Mesmer, son of America. That's quite interesting. Let's go over to the Clifford Terminus and talk about everything. Ugh. Ugh. No. No. Stop it now. That we've seen so far. I guess we don't have to go here. Let's go to some more in Ansbach. To these two sirs. And let's see if they will talk to us about some more Forger Brood.
Welcome.
Nope, we can't talk.
Righteous tarnished.
Ask about the person in verdigris armor, as if we know what this material is. Like, what is verdigris armor? We don't know that yet.
Oh, you must mean Samor. Samor is a kind and stalwart ally. He provisions our little outfit. Samor traffics with the Forager Brood, his brethren, who collect supplies from all corners of the land. No doubt they find inspiration in his many virtues. These are not your foes, Tarnished. Should you spot any Forager Brood, be sure to mind your manners. Righteous.
Right. So a bit more exposition. So I wonder if Samor is even human. He certainly speaks very... unsure.
Many things we have found.
And very slow, like,
Goodbye.
I mean, maybe this is not his language, of course, his first language, or he's not even a human. Similar to Gowry, maybe he is a forager brute, or a kindred of rot, or a pest, disguised as a human, similar to Gowry. Maybe that's what's going on here, but where Gowry had a more sinister plan, the plan with what's her name, with Millicent, Samor over here is just a nice person, I guess. And maybe that's the thing that is going on here, maybe not. But let's quickly have a look at what we've seen so far by looking at the map first. The path is very clear. We went from the 3-path cross to the next set of grays, the main gate cross. And from here we had a look at this interesting looking cliffside, explored it a bit more, and we found the Clifford Terminus. And from here we explored the rest of this area. We found a Shadow Tree fragment. We discovered the Prospect Town ruins with all the Blood Fiends inside. Discovered that the Blood Fiends had some sort of outer god that they're now worshipping. Some sort of creature seeing in the shadow of their dead, and then instead of being afraid or something, they started worshipping it out of desperation, I guess. like the goat forest with the big lightning goats. And then a artist's shack with a church of benediction. So let's talk about the level design here. Let's first start with the enemy variety, because there's not that much variety. Like, we have mainly like on the way there, just the basic enemies like dogs, bats, random ass people that are running around. Like here, these black phantoms, let's call them. These dudes over there. Not really noteworthy enemies. Similar to the dogs, like the spectral dogs we find here, and the bats. Not very noteworthy. A new enemy type, Blood Fiends. 3 types of Blood Fiends, or with 3 different weapons. A few of the blood-afflicted dogs. Goats and the lightning goats. Not really enemies, because they're more like, let's call them neutral enemies, because they're not attacking you outright. A curse blade, a few rats. The red bear is actually attacking you, so be careful. And that's it. So, up to this point, 1 new enemy type so far. And of course a few grave birds on the side that I forgot, on the cliff side. So, in total, 1 new enemy type with 3 variants, which is fine. It's still part of the same area, so enemy variety is okay, I guess. Even though the majority are Blood Fiends. And then wildlife is the rest, I guess. We found quite the good loot, I should say. Like, Shadow Tree Fragment, always nice. A talisman in here that boosts Arcane. Also another bell bearing. Like a painting with a reward as a shield. Like an armor set, for fuck's sake. Like, the armor set is awesome. Probably the best or most exciting item set that we found here, plus a good weapon. And my favorite talisman, how could I forget? Like the Blessed Dew talisman, the blue version there. So, quite the fruitful area for such a small one. Oh, and of course a Forager Brute. The first Forager Brute over here. Let's not mark this one. And a Revered Spurdash, if I pronounced that correct, like the revered part. But yeah, level design wise, quite fun. The ruins are quite fun. There's not an area where it's kind of frustrating to navigate, I must say. The only frustrating part, or really frustrating part, might be the Blood Fiends, but this is the first time encountering them, and they're also quite fun to fight, especially if you have a big weapon, so I don't see this as a problem. Overall, quite the fun area. Biggest challenge, probably the Curse Blade. I find them to be the strongest enemy that we've encountered so far, apart from the bosses. Like the Furnace Golem and the dude that is inside here. These might be stronger, maybe also the dude that is in the forest down here. But this is a more compact level compared to the rest of the plane, which is quite the nice sight. I find it sometimes quite tiresome to move from down here to up here, like to traverse such a big area without really doing anything. This is much more compact, and I personally enjoy these smaller areas, more compact areas a bit more. But that's just me. So level design wise, quite the good thing. World design wise, I don't have that much to question about. Like, the only thing maybe, where's the missing staircases, right? That's the only thing that I find negative about this area. It's quite a nice thing. Like, we have this town where these people lived, and then when Mesmer came and burned everything down, they saw a weird figure, like a gruesome figure in the shadow of their dead, and they started to worship it. And later on we will Like, this is not only this one tribe, there are blood fiends all over the place, but this is how this town got turned upside down, basically. Yeah, what then the weird church looking in the wrong direction, or maybe the right direction. Maybe at the start of the entire game here, at the start of the entire DLC, there should have been a staircase leading up to this church. That's maybe the reason why it's turned seemingly the wrong way, why the entrance is facing the wrong way, seemingly. But yeah, it looks quite nice. It's quite the fun area. Can only recommend. And then these two NPCs, always nice to have more NPCs to talk to, even though the NPC technology of From Software is quite outdated. I feel like NPCs just standing around and not doing anything really. It's quite outdated. Like, other games do this much better with a more dynamic system of NPCs. But it has its charm. It's the good old Dark Souls flair. Might be weird if this is your first game, or might feel a bit lackluster if this is your first game. If you've played the other Souls games, or at least when you're familiar with the other Souls games, then this is to be expected, really, right? But yeah, that's quite the fun area, I have to say. And I think that's it. There's not much more to talk about. Next episode we will probably have a look inside this weird town, and I guess it's called Ballarat. We've already been spoiled by the jail down there. Yeah, we will have a look at Ballarat. Probably in 2 parts. Maybe not, who knows. Depends on how fast I am. But yeah, that's it for now. Hope you had fun, and I see you in the next one. Goodbye.